One, how are you doing? Singing a little Doors, I am. So, a little LA Lady. Love that album. So, how are you? Friday? Man, I'll tell you what, made it through the work week, and I do trust it is doing good. So, just want to say hello to everybody. Um, Welcome. I think this is going to be one far out show. Hello, Sabrina. How are you? Troy, hello from Tucson. How you doing? Ellen, good to see y'all. Davis, hello. Hypotherapy Pixie, greetings to you. True Heart Living, hello. How are you doing? By the way, I've got your email and I am going to respond back. And yes, definitely want to get you on as well. All right. Um, been waiting for this for a little while, a wonderful book. It's a rare one. Actually, I got one of the ones that were actually put in to some of the libraries. And how many of you remember that smell of the library? You could go up to certain books and you can just smell, they have a certain aroma that takes you back. It smells like knowledge, old paper that has been sitting for a long time. Got my hands on this book, fantastic book, Alchemy and Academia. Printed in 1970. It's a fascinating book. I just got to tell you. And I'm glad I got one of the original copies. I got to tell you, it's, again, amazing how once the path and the guideposts have been lit and the initiate starts down the path, how the knowledge starts coming and coming from many places that so often we're not even looking for. It's the kind of the wonder of this whole process. I was thinking before I came on here, I've got a number of things here we'll be using, but how in my life there was the bypass that I got off on, and you know, as much as it was a bypass, took out quite a few decades of my life, but nevertheless, I learned a lot, learned quite a bit. You know, I learned, not to fear the red pill. The blue pill was already a trip to begin with. So, I mean, how much more stranger could a red pill become? Well, it becomes, in one way, the duality of it. It's oddly strange, but yet oddly familiar. And there's a reason for that. For myself, coming out of the Christian indoctrination, and a studier I have always been. One person once made the comparison to me in a junkyard bulldog. Once I get a hold of the bone, I'm not letting loose. And, you can do the proverbial army at chop my head off and I ain't giving it up, Jack. It's still there. So one person said, by the way, I was just reading in there that, well, what happens if you took both the pills? Well, it's purple. You meet yourself coming and going. So, and it's just a metaphor, folks. That's all it is. We can't be opposed to metaphors. That's how you learn. Metaphors, allegories, parables. And when you understand that that's how all of us learn, you begin to embrace the philosopher's heart, which this channel is dedicated to. It's my life pursuit. And hello, Brian. How you doing? Hello, Raven Wolf. How you doing? Theodora, good to see you. Johanne, good to see you as well. So, took some thought on this. When I made the offer of sending out the ritual on favor, I really didn't expect that many people to make a request for it. And I'll tell you how many came in. It was over 30 requests. Now, take into the percentage of people that I know are watching the channel, because I can see the number. I can see the conversation going on in the chat room. So that tells me, by doing a mere statistical analysis, that there really is a huge hunger for this information. Someone wrote me an email and said, well, try to look this up in Google. There is no favor blessing. I said, yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? That in all of the alchemists, throughout all the millennia, why we do not find an invocation, a ritual for favor. When you begin to understand that all around us are spirits, and many have, as we are learning through the Hermetic teachings, many of them who have advanced, and even those that seemingly odd enough below us, some of them have that ability to see within this plane. And that's what makes the trip, oh, so interesting, folks. Come on. And when I look back on my indoctrination in the religion I was in, it's replete with these ceremonies. It's replete with the rituals. It's replete in telling you how to cast the spell. You just didn't see it that way. You saw it through a certain lens. In fact, even the author who wrote that said, well, I only see things now darkly colored, but I will see what? Perfect beyond the veil. So if we begin to understand that the Hermetic principles apply to everything, you have no argument. Someone wrote in one of the comments, said, Wayne, I hope you begin to rethink, your association with y'all. Let me tell you, when you get to the point where you finally realize that either you believe in the construct of the all or you don't. Now, if you don't, that's cool. It means that you're going to regulate yourself to a lower frequency, but that's cool too. I mean, we all have our own paths to walk. But when you embrace the all, then you understand it doesn't matter the name. I believe this name. I believe in that name. Fine. You still can't put God into a name. The minute you do, it's no longer God. Now, that's my philosophy. You will adapt your own, as many of you have. So, you'll be material classified. I'll be 62. Oh, well, congratulations. There you go. Talk about healing. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I really hesitated at first because sometimes when you put this material out, people, they can get weirded out. They'll say, oh, you're, practicing witchcraft or you're into the occult. Well, we all are into the occult. It just depends on what flavor and what lens you're looking through. It's all the occult. It's knowledge, pagan or otherwise. When you begin to understand some basic principles, and that is, let's take it from something that everyone can agree on. We are a combination of atoms and molecules. everything in our reality can be traced back to molecules, electrons, atoms. We also know that light is a photon. We know how photons are emitted. We're still learning. But we got the basics, and maybe not all the basics, but we got enough to begin to build our reality on. These are all truths. Doesn't take a religious, theological point of view to define that. It just is. Now, once you understand that, then you begin to understand that you and I, physical beings, plant beings, animals, and even those that we don't see, live in a plane of reality. We're discussing this right now. We just talked about that on Tuesday, the different planes. I have gotten a copy of the PDF of Franz's book, and in that one, he goes even deeper. I mean, deep, folks. And you begin to snap. You begin to realize, now I can understand Philo much more differently. I can understand Plato much more differently because I see something I had never saw before. And that is, there is sentient life that is beyond our understanding. And living in this temporal plane of existence that we do, material matters. And that's not a Freudian slip. Actually, it's kind of cool, though, when I think about it. Because we know that all matter is not material. I hope you've learned that much so far. If you haven't, then you need to go back and re-listen to the series. So by now, I'm expecting most of you to be ready to start moving on to deeper concepts. Now, if you're still bound by tradition, that's cool. This may not be your cup of tea. That's fine. But for those of you who want to see a change in your life and realizing, as I used to say in my sermons when I used to do that kind of thing, there are many different ways to get to Chicago. You can walk, you can ride a bike, you can drive a car, you can take a jet, you can take a first-class jet, you can take a private jet. In the end, you're still going to arrive at the same destination. And for us all, in this whacked out world that we're in, that's where we're all heading. So this is a means in which to become, as Hermes taught, in the principle 6 principle of cause and effect. What position are you going to be? Are you going to be the causer, or are you going to be the effector? Because if you begin to understand working with the elements, and why Christianity puts that down, I don't understand. I heard many of a sermon from the pulpit. Well, you can't get into this whole element thing of Mother Nature, and it doesn't matter. It's mind coitus. The fact is that we live in it. We're affected by it. If your house is ever hit by a tornado, you'll certainly tell a person who doesn't believe in the elements, you'll have a few choice words for them. You tell them to get their cranium out of their anus and start replacing the fecal matter with gray matter, because that's exactly what you're dealing with. And so when you begin to understand that within these elements, man exists. Now, man can either coexist or man can resist. You will find coexisting gets you a lot further than resisting. And resisting could be easily defined. You build a building that you think is secure, but you have no knowledge of aerodynamics, lift, force, wind, velocity, and you happen to build your house where the area is buffeted by a thing called hurricane, you'll find out real quickly about principles that you resisted real quick, get you killed. Thank you, Mom's View. How sweet of you. We're going to just show that. Who's ever in there? So anyway, as we move along now, I'm going to teach you a principle that I've built this over the years. It's worked for me. I've added to it. I have no doubt that you're going to add to it too. It works. And as I told you yesterday in quite lengthy detail, people of the world have used this technique. It may be in another name, it could be in another form, but in the end, it's still using the same basic elements. Now, the difference of my approach has been, this is not directed at a particular deity. It's more directed to the energy forces that we live in. And when you understand yesterday the principle of favor that we're dealing with here, you can understand how this works. It's a different state of mind. Someone asked me twice, and I actually will show you here in a little bit, meditation beads. I used to have some glass ones, but they broke because I learned if you walk around, and I used to do a lot of traveling with these beads, it helps you meditate. That's how I learned to meditate while I was fully walking, consciously aware. I mean, you stand in enough lines waiting to board a plane, even when you're in the front, you find yourself, don't waste that time. You know, get yourself some meditation beads. Recommend the minimum of 20, maximum of 40. You can be any number you really want. But the idea is that as you train yourself on the ability to hold one thought, even in the midst of a chaotic situation, you're beginning to master elements. So does that make sense to everyone? So I don't use a name of a deity, but I do invoke all the literal forces that we all can recognize. How many of you actually know your periodic tables? Now I have one right up over here. The thing cost me like $80, you know? I went, when did periodic tables suddenly get a price on it? Well, an alchemist. And the reason why I have it up over there, because I meditate on it. I know that each one of those elements and the new elements that we're discovering each contain a power, a use. I'm just not advanced enough there to figure it out yet, but give me time. So, so let's get into this document I have pulled up for everyone. I wrote this, so if you want it, let me know. It's called, and I just titled it, The Favor, Cleansing, and Invocation, because it is an invocation. An invocation, I like the word better than spell or, you know, incantation. They all mean the same. But an invocation, I always like, it's like inviting on a vacation. And that's how I approach this. And you know, your spirit, your soul, it's going to represent to the spirit forms, the elements, they're going to see right through you. So if you've got like greed, or you're looking for gain to merely spend on your vices, addictions, pleasures, It ain't going to work, Jack. I mean, just it ain't going to work. You're boomeranging yourself is the problem, because your spirit, your soul, your intent, that which people can't see, but the spirit realm can, it bounces back on you. How do I explain it? You have a force field. That's why it's so important to understand reprogramming the subconscious and the superconscious, the submind, the supermind. All right, so this ritual has been used, as I said, in one form or another for thousands of years, and for good reason. It works even in small portions of this invocation, and it will produce results. It's cleansing of the mind, the soul. It's important that this be done using the elements, in this case, water and fire, which will be represented by smoke, and is conducted through the body, which represents air and earth, with the body being used as a representation of all the elements manifested in a material form, you. So this is what you're going to need. And I'm going to stop the camera on the share, and I'm going to get back so everyone can see what I'm actually talking about. There I am. Hello. So, hello, Karen. How are you doing? So, let's talk about everything you would need. And actually, I've overdone this a little bit, is here. And I'm going to show you what you need and what you probably already have in your home to do this. Now, I'll just say it right from the get-go. You're going to have to perform this ceremony in the nude. So if you got a problem with your body, well, suck it up, cupcake. That's all I can tell you. All right. So doing a smudging cleansing is vitally important. I hope you do that often in your home. Sherry Spears made this for me, by the way. You should subscribe to Sherry's channel, along with sage. This is white sage. And I use an alabaster shell. So this is what you will begin to use in cleansing. All right. Now, you should have some chalk. If you don't have chalk, you can use string. Don't have plastic. That's contaminated. You don't want that. This is hemp twine, and you can fashion this into your spear or your circle. Now, if you don't have the sage, then incense can work. You can get sage incense. This is sage. If you want to invoke, by the way, the energy for prosperity, not money. Get money out of the equation. Prosperity. That's what you want. That's what you need. Many people think that they need money. No, you need prosperity. You need to understand what prosperity is. Prosperity covers finance, body, health, mind, soul. Anyway, I digress. Lavender is great for doing this. Okay. Now, you need to draw a circle. I use a compass to set the 4 cardinal points. You're going to need to do that. Once your circle is formed, you want to set 4 cardinal points of where you're going to put candles. And the way you want to get as close as you can in being accurate in that. Very important. So you'll want to have candles. Now, I use, just to let you know, colored candles. They represent different elements for me, and you should find out what works best for you. By the way, these my wife and I got when we were in Hawaii, and I go around because I'm actually looking for some new glass beads. But anyway, these really help you to focus. If you're looking to really get favor into your life, this will help you when you're going around where you know you're going to have time. And that's why if you get a smaller ones, you know, the beads, and they can be plastic. It's just actually, you can get a rope and tie knots into it. Okay. Now I do some things that are a little different because I have found that it enhances what I'm looking to do. I use minerals and crystals, and I have found that there are vibrations when you get in the middle of your spear and you're nude and you've gone through the cleansing that we're going to be talking about. They do add energy to the field. And I have mine, which I pack into this. And also, as I'm acquiring more minerals, more crystals, I'm adding to this and, you know, experimenting. That's the only way you can learn a lot of this. You experiment. These are my sacred, this is Purified sacred salt. I use this in, you don't need much. It's just enough that when my circle is formed, I use the sacred salt as an additional barrier, and works for me, may not work for you. Now, I am doing something, it's a little different. Since I understand photons, I understand elements, I understand spiritual, and I understand entities. I understand what energy sources can do. I am experimenting with lasers in my ceremonies, and don't know anything yet. I'll certainly let you know. But it only makes sense from a magician point of view that light carries energy, vibration. Different colored light, particularly in laser spectrums, can carry fields of energy that I happen to think can be utilized. Just me. So the last thing I use is a crystal bowl. Why crystal? Well, because I can get tone, frequency. When I put distilled water in here for cleansing, it will generate a certain frequency, a certain sound, which will invoke spirits. Just the way it is. So, where do I do this, in the inside or outside? Well, Patrick, and depending on where you might live, you could do it outside. I actually do this in my garage. So it gives me the privacy and the ability to do this unhindered, and it works. Now, if you use the string or the rope, you can do it in your own home somewhere. You can actually do it in a room. You know, remember, it's merely the formation that you're looking to do. Why do you have to get naked? Rod, that's a good question. And I'm going to tell you right here now why. Probably some of you have never even considered this, but if you read the book of Leviticus, you will find out that the Levitical priest had to go through a very ordinate process before approaching this energy source and cleansing their body. Now, they had to use garments, and the reason was that they were dealing with radioactive material. All right, so let's get started on this. If you're doing a money invocation, you will need to have something that is directly connected to you, such as a checking account, bank statement, gold, silver, paper money, and a picture of you. There's a reason for the picture as well. Remember, a picture of you is a capture of you, and you could say it's a capture of your soul in a place of space and time. So, you know, get your checkbook. Your wallet works just as well. Gold and silver. If you don't have gold and silver, that's cool. You might have a wedding ring. Many times that's made out of gold. And if you just don't, you can always use a substitute. What are the elements? Does anyone know the elements for gold? What is it? What is the periodic number? AU? Silver as well. So you'll need that, all right? Now, if this is for bringing favor to your enemy or anyone who has done you wrong, you will need something that represents that person or multiple persons. This could be an issue that they've done you wrong. It could be a company, it could be anything that has been a hindrance to you, particularly in the area of unforgiveness. You got to get the unforgiveness out, folks. I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're a person who goes by the idiom, you know, well, I certainly can forgive, but I can't forget. Again, you're just boomeranging yourself. Stop it. All right. If this is for health, again, for someone other than yourself, a picture is best, and the more precise you can be, the better, but it's not necessary. It just helps in focusing and targeting the exact causes. Now, I can't see the chat room, so I'll get this done and we'll get back to chatting a little bit more. All right, here is why you need to be in the nude. I bet you haven't even thought about this. Maybe some of you have. It is highly recommended that you be naked while conducting this invocation. Clothes carry too much collected energy and unseen forces. These are for the most part minor entities, but can at times impede and delay results. You also should step into your sphere or circle after you've cleansed yourself, which you should do as naked as well. That's why. Clothes carry residual energy. We're going to learn next week the food you eat carries residual energy. People who've received organ transplants can tell you the organs carry residual energy. Now, your clothes, you think about this. Would you want to do this ceremony? And I'm just going to do something, for instance. It came to my head, so I'm going to say it. You just got into a horrific argument with your lover, your significant other, and you know something's got to be done. But your clothes, it's no different than the potato bag or the plant that can hear your voice hours after you have spoken. That energy saturates not only your soul, but your clothes as well. Think about it. And besides that, you're going to be dealing with the elements. These entities don't care that you're naked. It's when you can begin to feel the most vulnerable, you become the most powerful. Think about what I just said there. All right, so this is a smudging process. We all know, if you don't know how to smudge, you can simply get this. This is why I had all those elements I had, the smudging, the feather. You go in your house, you walk around. I tell you how to do this, how to begin to get yourself in the right vibration. Anyone who practices, I see that Anja is in here as well. She'll tell you how you set your vibration is so important. That's why a lot of people have a problem meditating. They're so agitated that it takes such a long time to calm the vibration. You know, you can throw a rock into a pond, and long after the rock has sank, the pond is still reverberating. All right, so I give you some other opportunities here. Like I said, you could do this with incense. Even if you don't have, like I have this gift that Sherry made for me, you can use your hand. It's all right. You know? you'll learn it's the intent of how you go into this that also bears a lot on the results. All right, so once you have the smudging, the sage lit, this is something I've learned. And I learned this actually from Karen, that was who helped me in understanding a lot more of this. This has happened now, particularly if many of you can witness for the last year and a half. So this is something you can say is air, fire, water, earth, cleanse, dismiss, dispel all unclean energies, all forces that are against me. And folks, we got them. We got forces that are against us. It's just the way it is. They're not all going to love you, and you're not going to love them. You know? Now, I mean that in the basis of points. Obviously, you know, we don't want to pick a fight with anyone, but you have to be ready to defend yourself is all. So the sage ceremony lifts the veil between the everyday and the sacred. And as you say your incantation, you're shifting your energy at will. This is very important. So once the space is cleared, allow the sage bundle to burn out. Put it to where, you know, it's not going to cause a fire. All right. So here's what I recommend. This is something I've perfected. This may be the first one of its kind ever put out there. I don't know. Kind of gives you a step-by-step. Fasting is important for at least 12, ideally 24 hours. Draw a circle large enough to stand in, or a string or a rope to form a circle. On the 4 cardinal points, put a candle outside. I recommend color. That's just me. I use white for north, red for south, east for blue, and west for green. These are just suggestions. You don't have to do this. This is very important. Cleansing your body in water before the ritual, no soap. And this is not a bath. This is a ceremony. I recommend distilled water, and I'll tell you why. In fact, I've been thinking about maybe looking down the road and actually building a still to get distilled water, as the alchemists used to do back in the day. Distilled water is denser, and it contains more, for me, more of the properties that are directly related to cleansing energies. The alchemists that I have read back in the day, the powerful ones, the powerful magicians, could do a distilled elixir starting with water. As you get better at it, you use other things. We'll be talking about that here in a little bit. But when you really begin to get this distilled 20, 30, 40, 50 times, becomes really powerful. So anyway, the water is an element we are all part of. So in a bowl or even a large bucket, collect the water. Distilled, as I said, has a higher density, and it has special properties, in this case, if used, enough to pour over your head and body. You want to be able to collect this. Or if you're doing it outside, or like I do in the garage, it's going to go right back into the earth anyway. So it's not being collected. But once the water has settled, this is really important, is that you put your hand above the plane of the water. Allow your energy to start saturating the element in the water. It begins to form a bond between you and the water element. And this is important. I mean, I found it that all things being equal, that, yeah, it works. And speak to the water. You know, speak to it and saying that you are clean, you're pure, and I am ready to cleanse my soul and body. Therefore, I speak that as this water flows over my body and soul, it collects all the impurities, all the residual negative and weak energies. Weak energies, folks, you don't ever hear people talk about that. Weak energies, they're like leeches to us. and thoughts, and they are returned to earth. Now pour the cleansing water over your body, and as you do, see all the waste of this pure cleansing washing away all that residual energy opposing you. And the water must be thrown out immediately. Do not collect it, or do not let anyone else, let alone your dog, be drinking it. I recommend a separate smudging at this point for your body. You can actually smudge the body. And once you've conducted the smudging of your body, you can begin to move through your space, wave the smoke into all corners, across all doorways, into all shadow areas, maintain an atmosphere of ritual, keeping and repeating the incantation favor in your mind as you diffuse the smoke. Again, don't put on any clothes. Now light the candles that are outside your circle, starting with north, south, east, west. You should have all the items discussed inside your sphere or circle. It is recommended that you contain them in a cloth if possible. There's a reason for this. Now, facing the east, speak this: I welcome the favor of the energy of the beginning way, the rising sun at the beginning of the day, and the light of illumination. I welcome the energies and spirits of the east and for their favor. Now turn to the south and repeat, I welcome the favor of the energy of service to all my relatives, the heat of the noonday sun and the spirit of action in the world. I welcome the energies and the spirits of the south and for their favor. Facing west, I welcome the favor of the energy of looking within to find the gifts of healing and the spirit going deep within to seek the gift of renewal. I welcome the energies and spirits of the West and their favor. Facing north, I welcome the favor of the energy of wisdom and blessing and the elders who teach me to be generous and honor all that I receive because of this great favor upon me. I welcome the energies and the spirits of the north and their favor. Now, looking up, I welcome the favor of energy and spirit of above, that masculine energy that also exists within the feminine. I invoke favor. Looking down, touching the ground, your feet should already be on the ground. I don't know, maybe some of you are not. I welcome the favor of energy of Mother Earth, the feminine principle, the energy and the spirit of below. I welcome the energy and the spirit of my ancestors and that feminine energy that exists within the masculine. I welcome the energies and the spirits of Mother Earth and her favor upon me. Now, looking within, holding your hands over your heart, say this: I welcome the energy within, the principle of being connected, the energy and spirit of within. I welcome the gifts of balance, oneness, and the favor of connection with all things, for all things are one and all things are related. Now, holding up the items and facing east and turning clockwise, you now invoke the favor you have just received, and you speak that power into the items in your hands. If this is for forgiveness, cover that person or persons with favor. Healing, speak directly to the ailment. Increase in supply, see it as done. You might be feeling overwhelmed with warmth of emotions, and if there are tears, allow them to cover that which you are holding as you complete the circle. Do this twice more in the same manner, in the same direction. After that, it's done. There's nothing more that you can do. I say a Psalms of Thanksgiving before I step out of the sphere or my circle, but you do as you feel led. Just be at peace. Allow the forces to do their job. You have set into motion a powerful energy force that will bring results. So there you go. Powerful stuff. And I'm assuming, is I still on? Yeah, okay. Sometimes I'm not sure these days anymore. So there you go. Yeah, you can do with it what you want. I know it works. I know other people who know it works. And, you know, the question I ask, what's your alternative? To continue to live as you're living now? Is there joy in your life? Is there laughter? Is the presence in your house one of peace, serenity? If not, why do you want to live in that? Now, I know it seems strange that to stand in a circle naked, but hey, there's a lot of things that I've experienced in my life that were strange. Just because they're strange doesn't mean it's not normal. In fact, the way most people live is abnormal. And it's your first step. So there you go. I hope this has helped someone. You know, I don't know. I know this, I respect every person. I don't know where everyone's reality is at. Nobody does. But when you know that there are certain things that are in fact real, and to those who may think that this is somehow, you know, witchcraft, spellbinding, casting, whatever, think about it out of when I came out of it, taking communion. Look what the ceremony that's done on Easter Sunday, Good Friday, Palm Sunday. I can just go on and on. It's filled with ritual, pageantry. Pageantry. Break that word down. Pagan. Rituals. You're invoking spirits in all of that. You just were taught that you were invoking ones that you thought were for you. Most of the people I know in Christianity are miserable. It's a fact. They give more credit to the devil than they do their God. And something that was supposed to be defeated, it certainly seems to have the upper hand. And you got to stop it. That's why I don't go to the Bible. I know it. I know it by heart. But at some point in time, you have to stop the rituals and change. Again, what is the spirit in your home? What is that vibration? Do people come in your home? Do they laugh? Do they find joy? Do they find refuge? If not, then that should be your first sign. I mean, do you get up during with dread? Trying your best? I mean, it's just what it is. So, you know, use this. Those who do, I know what will happen. And you can be a testimony to the rest of the community. To give you an idea of how this works, and you're not even aware of it. Give me 1 second, folks. I have been working in experiments with the spirits. I find that if I'm friendly, and it's something I want to get to know, because here's the hardcore reality, sunshine. You're going to get to know them anyway. It's just whether you do it here or you're going to do it over there. I think I'd like to be able to recognize some of that. I think any good professional, one who loves to excel, does that. So I have found, and this is true, folks, I'm just going to tell you, I have found some spirits love cinnamon. Love it. And how do I know? Because I can put this in my sphere and invite those who are part of this. And folks, things begin to happen. By the way, for those of you who have what I call foot-mouth disease, you speak something and then inadvertently during the day, you speak something opposite of what you just spoke. This may be your best investment. I suggest that you have this in your packet because you may need to put some of this on your mouth. Just duct tape your mouth and just keep your damn mouth shut and let the forces do what they're supposed to do. So many of you always open your mouth and you will speak negatively, and then you ask yourself, well, this ain't working. Well, that's a bunch of crap. I told you. And yet, you fool, you're doing it yourself. Yeah, I use the word fool because in the proper context, a fool is one who doesn't understand. So anyway, might want to think about that. But here's the other thing. I have found a particular group of spirits that love the smell of almond, pure almond extract. In fact, it's so powerful that you should try this. To those of you who are wanting to become alchemists, try this. When you begin to think about distilled spirits, think about things like alcohol. There's other elements that we see that we are around us all the time. And that's why when you go into a bar, they sell spirits. Yeah. In fact, when I met this guy, this is moonshine. And the reason why moonshine is so interesting, I don't drink it, but is that it's exactly this. It's distilled spirits. Now think about this. Distilled spirits. That's why when people get excessively drunk or even a little buzzed, they lose their inhibitions. They're drinking in energy that they don't even understand. But this has been a powerful tool in medicine men, shamans. Others use that. The same that you can use cannabis. All of these are elements, and all of these have a place. I found that cloves is an interesting combination at times. It amazes me what you can actually begin to tell, and this is what alchemists do. They used to burn us at the stake for doing it. Oh, mastermind, you know what? All right, listen to me, Master Classified. I'm serious, folks. Whoa, we have in our nuclear, if the apocalypse was to come in. So this is Everclear. Now, the thing about Everclear, it's powerful, folks. Powerful using in rituals. Number one, it's 95% alcohol. It's virtually pure. And it's odd that I saw someone actually take that. Charlotte, you're absolutely right. A vanilla extract in your left rib. There you go. Breathe deeply. The moon. That's my point. I have here, and if anyone sells frankincense, myrrh, write me, let me know. I want to buy some. So I have a very special alabaster jar, and I keep a very special mixture in here. And it's quite amazing what you begin to find out when you, hey, by the way, this is something you can also use. So if you really want to begin to stir up the room and begin to get it to where you want to cleanse the room, I go in with a can of compressed air. You'd be surprised what happens. Remember, the world that we live in, 90% of it, we can't see. Maybe be more than that. Well, I hope this has been fun. If not fun, then informative. If not informative, well, titillating. And if not titillating, well, then what the hell are you doing in here? So, yes. Okay, I just saw that, Gemma. Yeah. So let me know. I mean, folks, we need to make use of this. And if there are people that actually are selling essential oils, crystals, folks, make use of it. All right. Thank you, Don. Don, I want to have you on, by the way. So let me know. And Deborah Tucker as well. We need to get more into now, since I've broken the ice, so to speak. And I'm sure that the people will have fun with this one. You know, it's like, you know, well, what is Steiger now? Has he gone into being a magician or what? No, I'm just an initiate, a teacher, but an initiate nonetheless. It works, folks. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen in my day healing lines that would stretch out the door. And I can see at the moment how those magicians mix the elixir of the faith of the people. Now, many of them lost what they thought that they had no sooner than they walk out the door. But for a moment in time, they realized how powerful their mind is. Now, we call it faith. But if you put that same elixir into becoming a master of your elements, whether it be a witch, warlock, whatever, you're going to start changing things. And you know, here's the thing. In the fourth principle of polarity, dark and lightness are the same thing, just a matter of degrees. Now, I can't see where it could be so wrong if the intent is to help my neighbor. In some places, you're commanded to do that. But sometimes you can't help your neighbor the way that you know that they need to be helped. This is a way that you do that. And I'm going to tell you this. Some of you who are suffering illnesses in your body, I can tell you it's directly tied to unforgiveness. It's true. There's an old proverb that says, unforgiveness dries the bones. Translation, it brings on arthritis. Now, I know that to be a fact. And if that's true, I can tell you many times laying my hands on people where their anger and how it begins to pull and into a residual in certain organs. It's all true, folks. All right, tonight we got Dr. Ram, Dr. Richard Miller. Looking forward to it. So we're going to have fun. We're going to be talking more about this. I think that Richard can bring a perspective with his diversity of knowledge into alchemy, the Hermetic principles, and apply it into science, particularly modern day science, along with, you know, how it affects the mind and what have you. By the way, folks, as I exit out of here, we all talk about 5G. I think I've just given us a way to combat that. The only way we can combat something that we cannot see in an energy force is to send an equally or greater opposing energy force. And if the ether is real and it lays access to any person who makes demand on it, it may be a way. I don't know. All right, folks, be good. Love yourselves. You'll love others. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you tonight. And thank you again. I hope this has been at least informative. All right, we'll talk soon. All right, bye-bye.